The sound of the idling car engine was noisy, and I barely heard the phone buzzing in my pocket. I answered Samantha's call on the final ring. "Hello, Mousy," I said in a voice far more cheerful than I felt, using the pet name I had for her. "Is everything okay?" She sighed, and I could tell right away it wasn't. Nobody calls at 1 a.m. because things are going great. "Leo still won't eat. It's been going on for almost 2 days. We have to go see a doctor." "Of course. We can go to the hospital after I'm done here, if you like. I can't leave yet, though. The buyer hasn't arrived. You understand. My bosses, they wouldn't allow it." "I understand. I'll keep trying. He just won't latch on. I feel like he's given up." "I'll see you when you get home. Be safe, okay?" "Always," I said. "I love you." "I love you too." The alley was dark and quiet again, all around me except for the sound of the running engine. Where the hell was the buyer? He was a new guy, unfortunately, and I didn't like him being late for our first deal. It seemed like a bad omen, or at the very least a sign of unprofessionalism. Then again, drug dealers aren't always the most punctual types. Usually I didn't meet new clients in this sort of exposed way. It was too risky. But this guy had been set up by my bosses, and I knew better than to argue with them about how to conduct business. Still, it looked as if this meeting wasn't going to happen. The buyer was a no-show. Just as I was about to leave, I saw headlights turn in the alley. What the hell is this, I thought. He was supposed to come on foot, so as not to attract attention. I had requested it for my own comfort level as well, considering how precarious this whole situation already was. It gave me a modicum of assurance to have upper hand. But now that he was driving towards me down the alley, I felt boxed in, cornered, trapped like a rat. Not a feeling I like to have when meeting a new client. The clan had my back, sure, but that didn't matter if I was dead. The lights were blinding me, and I held up my hand over my eyes to block the glare. They cut out a second later, and I heard footsteps approaching from outside. With a slightly shaky hand, I hit the button to unlock the door, thinking it made no sense to argue semantics. I just wanted to get the deal over with. A man in a black trench coat opened the door and sat down next to me. His collar was pulled up to block his face, shrouding his features in darkness beneath the brim of a hat that hadn't been fashionable for 70 years or more. The man appeared to be from another time, another age. He didn't look at me, but kept staring straight ahead. "Are you Joshua?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to look at me, his eyes unreadable. "Well, are you?"
"Is that what you'd wish for me? To be Joshua? So you can go back home to Mousy? To help with the baby?"
My jaw dropped and I felt my heart begin to hammer faster and faster. No one knew I called Samantha that pet name except for her. "Who are you?" I asked. "Really?"
"I'm your worst nightmare, Polly. Or I can be your best friend. You get to decide which. But be careful. You only get one shot at this."
Staring into his strange, serpentine eyes, I felt myself saying I wanted to be his friend. But that wasn't what I really wanted. I just didn't want to die. And I had a strong suspicion I didn't want this thing to be my enemy. It would be safer to be its friend. Or so I thought. "I want to be your friend," I said dreamily. "Please don't hurt me." His smile returned.
"Of course you do. Polly the Pill Man. You're everybody's best friend. Now listen closely. I got something I need you to do for me.
He put his arm around me, and the world went dark. When I woke up, the car was parked in the same alley. Only now it was morning, and the vehicle was parked facing the opposite direction, indicating I had left and come back here for some reason. But why? I could remember nothing from the past several hours, I realized, looking at the dashboard clock and seeing it was almost noon. My heart began to beat faster in my chest as I pulled the latch to pop the trunk. On shaking legs, I walked back there, hoping the package was still there. It wasn't. The bundle in the trunk, which was worth a small fortune, was gone. Vanished. I closed the trunk, my mind reeling. What the hell would I tell my bosses? The last thing I remembered was the stranger in my car, and telling him I would be his friend. My phone began to ring in my pocket, and I pulled it out to see it was my contact with the IADS. "Hello?" I said, answering.
Where are you?
"I'm heading there now. Sorry for the delay. There's been a problem. I'll explain when I get there." He hung up without another word, and I got back into the driver's seat and started the engine. My hands shook all the way across town, my palms sweaty on the wheel.
Tell me again. My ears must be failing me,
Mr. Ayad said. "The pills. They're gone. I must have been robbed."
Must have been. You don't remember being robbed?
I hesitated, unsure how much I should say. I hadn't exactly had time to come up with a story. It seemed that the truth would be the safest bet, or at least some version of it. "This has never happened to me before, sir. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. You know that. You can test me. But last night something happened. Someone got into my car. A man in a trench coat. He spoke to me briefly, and then I passed out. Maybe he injected me with something. I don't know, but I don't remember anything after that." Mr. Ayad smiled.
You don't remember anything after that, huh?
"No, sir."
And we can check your blood. Make sure you're not lying?
"Yes, sir." He looked over to one of his men and nodded his head. Then he pointed up at the large television screen mounted to the wall.
"So, who's that?"
On the screen, I saw views of a casino. I was sitting at a blackjack table, shoving a stack of chips into the middle, laughing and toasting people with glasses of champagne.
And who's that?
Another security tape rolled, showing me in a strip club, shoving dollar bills down strippers' G-strings by the fistful, and then I was throwing them up into the air and making it rain.
And this?
In the next video, I was at an expensive restaurant, buying more food than 10 people could eat comfortably. "Sir, that's not me. That can't be me." Mr. Ayad shook his head.
"No, it couldn't be you. You're right. You're not stupid enough to spend my money in my establishments. No, I can't believe you would be that stupid."
He whistled, and 4 men entered the room from outside. They surrounded me as I screamed for mercy and held me down roughly on a wooden table. I couldn't see anything except for hairy, large arms holding me down, pushing my face into the varnished wood. But then a moment later, the men parted like the Red Sea, allowing him in closer. Mr. Ayad held a butcher's cleaver in his hand. It was long and wickedly sharp, gleaming as he approached.
"I'm gonna go easy on you, Polly. For all your years of service."
I was screaming so loud I barely heard him, and one of his men stuffed a rag in my mouth, silencing me.
Well, you're gonna want to bite down on that. This is gonna hurt. Badly.
They held my hand over the table and forced my index finger out so it was straight on the table.
Normally I would cut off your whole hand for stealing from me. But I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, Polly. I'm gonna give you 1 week to save the rest of your hand. If you don't have my money by next Wednesday, you're gonna lose the rest of it, understand?
I screamed some more, and he silenced me with a finger to my lips.
I'm only gonna ask you one more time, Polly. Do you understand?
No part of me wanted to agree, but I nodded my head weakly and closed my eyes. And I listened as the butcher's blade slammed into the table. My world exploded in pain, and I passed out again. "Samantha?" I called out softly, entering the apartment. My hand was wrapped in gauze bandages, and I felt a gnawing pain there that wouldn't subside. But I tried my best to ignore it. "Shh, he's sleeping," she said from the couch. She was smiling, and I took that as a good sign. I was surprised that she didn't notice my hand at first, but I didn't say anything about it. It would be hard enough to explain when the time came. "Is he eating now?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm going to go in and see him." That seemed to confuse her, and she mumbled something quietly as I walked down the hall to the nursery where Leo slept. Only he wasn't there. He wasn't in his crib. Samantha came up behind me and startled me when she put her hand on my shoulder. "Where's Leo?" I asked, confused. She turned me around and put my hand on her belly. I felt a strong kick and looked down to see the flesh of her abdomen, swollen and stretching as something moved around inside. She was pregnant. But with what, exactly? I noticed something about her eyes as well. They were pitch black like polished coal. "The baby's eating so well now, Polly," she said, rubbing her belly and smiling. Her teeth were a lot longer than I remembered, and they were bloody from a fresh meal. She licked her lips with a long, forked tongue, and I heard myself scream. "No," I shouted, backing up until I hit the wall behind me. "This isn't happening. This is a nightmare. This isn't real." A picture frame fell crashing to the floor as I bumped into it, glass breaking and shattering everywhere. What did you do to my son? My wife? Is she still in there?" My body turned without my consent, facing a mirror on the wall to my left. As I looked into my reflection, I saw that my own features were not entirely mine. I recognized the eyes from last night looking back at me. They were the same serpentine eyes which had stared at me from above the raised collar of a black trench coat in my car. Only now those eyes were in my own skull. I had said I wanted to be this thing's friend. Why had I said that? Spinning around, I looked at my wife and saw that her eyes were not her own either. They were different from the demon I'd seen the night before, but they were similarly surreal. There was something inside my wife, just like there was something inside of me, controlling my movements and using my body like an avatar in a Grand Theft Auto game, and making just as many poor decisions. There were 2 of them, one in me and one in her. And apparently they'd used our bodies to procreate at some point during the night while I was unconscious. Then she had consumed my infant son as a post-coital snack.
"Don't worry, Polly,"
my midnight-eyed wife said.
"You can have your mousy back soon. It won't take long for the new baby to come along. And then we can be on our way."
"All 3 of you?" I stuttered, hoping they would take their demon child with them.
"I don't think so, Polly. You look after the baby for us, won't you?"
Consider him a replacement for your own. Only he will always eat ravenously. Keep him satisfied, and he'll grow quickly and be out of your hair before you know it. I wanted to scream to tell them no, but found myself nodding and saying yes. He'll be good as long as he stays well fed. And you'll make sure of that, won't you, Polly? You'll make sure he has all the fresh meat he needs. Trembling, I nodded my head again. Whatever these hell fiends wanted me to do, I would. I'd do anything for my family. Anything.